What is up, everyone? This is the Opposite Ends podcast.
Let's go.
Our intro guy just took off for today. So
This
it was
is
a little
the Opposite
different.
Ends podcast.
You got Elton on the board. I got Josh across from me.
What's up?
We got Tristan.
Good evening.
And Ryan is absent today. We're going to miss him. No, we're not. Who am I kidding?
Actually,
I'm taking up the camera, so of course I ain't
hey,
gonna miss him.
listen. Godspeed for Ryan. He was able to get not just one, but both of his vaccination shots. And if you don't know, second shot comes with some side effects. It can be hard for some people. Creates flu, COVID-like symptoms, fever, tired, headache. He's just down to the dumps. So we want him to get his rest, get back to feeling better. But we're really glad he got the shot. So
He's going to be here next week, I'm sure.
yeah, he'll be back next week. So.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to my favorite segment, Spitfire Questionnaire.
Quick shoot.
I don't know. I don't.
We
even
still
know
don't
what to
have a
call it
name.
anymore.
We need a fucking name.
But let's just jump right into it. We got the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Big tournament.
Big tournament. Starts tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow.
There's some big controversy going on, but we'll get into that later.
Yep.
But, of course, we've known it to be celebrities playing in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, guys, who would you guys pick to play? Who would you play with, celebrity or pro golfer? Who would you want to play with?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the biggest golfer here.
For sure.
Love golf, grown up loving golf. I love this tournament. It's fun to watch because you get to see a lot of characters out there. Bill Murray, one of the big ones. You see Justin Thomas playing with, Steph Curry. I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. I think I'd want to play with Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know if he's good at golf, but I think he'd be pretty cool to just hang out with, shoot the shit, and play around a
I
golf.
don't know how you think Leonardo DiCaprio would be cool to hang out with. Nothing about his
Are you
personality.
kidding me?
What's funny is I used to despise the dude. After Titanic and the beach, I was so annoyed by this dude. But he is just fucking awesome.
Dude, he's the man.
He lives the Playboy lifestyle. He dates women half his age.
Right.
He parties hard. He lives his life on yachts. And he films some of the most iconic and most enjoyable roles in movies. Whether it's The Departed or
The Revenant.
Catch Me If You Can, The Revenant, Wolf of Wall Street, The Great Gatsby, Titanic. One of the movies I hated
Does he
when I was
play
young.
golf? Actually,
I don't
play
know.
golf?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't know if he plays golf, but I think it'd be fun to play with him. But, if I was the amateur in the situation playing with a pro,
Yeah.
pair me up with Tiger. I mean, it's cliche, it's easy, but that would be pretty
Tiger.
cool.
That was pretty easy. Yeah. Easy out. What about
Man,
you, Tristan?
it's tough. There's a ton of people. I think if I was going to play in something like this, the end result would be to have as much fun as possible. So put me with a comedian. And I'd have to go with my favorite comedian, Dave Chappelle.
That'd be cool.
I think it'd be a riot to ride around for 18 holes
And let him just cut
and
up.
just get his commentary, his thoughts on life. Every hole's going to be a brand new story.
Yep.
And if I can interject one or two things, that'd be great. But just let him do his thing, right? Each hole is a brand new episode, and let's roll.
I cringe because that was mine.
I'm sorry. Well, I can change it if you
Because
like.
I would want to be entertained.
Yeah.
It's freaking long. But I
Okay.
think my next would be Charles Barkley.
Okay, that would be great.
Totally.
I think he's just so
Totally.
entertaining. He's not good, but I just want to just chit chat with him.
Yep.
And he plays golf, not
That's
Leonardo.
fair. Well, and I know Ryan's listening, and this may not be who he would have picked, but this is probably in his top 5 bucket list players, people to play with, and it'd be John Daly. He always talks about Daly and how fun he is for the game and how he's just a character on the course, and I think anybody would enjoy playing with him.
Knowing Ryan, he's probably thinking he'd like to have a 6 group with all of in sync.
All right, next question. All right, there's some competition out on electric vehicles. Tesla's not the only one playing. There was a commercial Cadillac.
Yeah.
Is going completely electric, I think 2025.
That's their goal.
That's their goal. And the car looks dank.
That was an awesome commercial, by the way.
It was amazing.
I love Will Ferrell. He's another person I'd golf with.
Oh, I would do that too.
He can ride on the back of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, Will Ferrell. I should have chosen
Oh,
Will
yeah,
Ferrell.
he'd be awesome.
That would be amazing.
There's so many good people out there.
But I'm curious in knowing, do you think Tesla will be able to hold on to their reins? Will they still remain number one, or do you think some of these companies are going to show them up?
I think the biggest issue with electric vehicles for the past 10 years is just how shitty they've looked. They've always been like funny looking cars and they look like a gimmick. And then Tesla comes onto the scene and they put out a badass, fast, mobile, sleek, sexy car.
Yeah.
And people are like, fuck, I can get behind that. And now you've got companies like Lucid Air coming out with a badass version. If you don't know, Lucid Air part owner, whatever, if Tesla broke off and went and started Lucid Air. So people are expecting big things for them, but then you see this Cadillac commercial and it's like, damn, that's sexy. You see the Porsche Taycan. I've actually been able to ride in one and wow.
Yeah.
It's an experience there and it's Porsche and it's sexy as well. I don't think they stay on top. I mean, they are on top. They're going to be hard to take down because they've got a pipeline and a system. But now that you've got GE and Ford and BMW and Cadillac trying to come into the scene, they have an infrastructure. They are car companies that have been around for a long time. They just are now figuring out, like, let's make a sexy vehicle, make it electric, and we're going to sell it.
What do you think?
I agree with what he's saying. All these companies that are car companies are starting to dip into the electric vehicle world, which is going to help them being car companies first and now learning about the electricity part of it on the end. But Tesla right now is so far ahead of everybody because they've done this on a larger scale for so long. They've just been able to do more research. They've got more autonomous driving capabilities with way more data. And that's
charging stations
charging stations for sure.
Their battery is the big advantage they have.
Right. Yeah. And so with Tesla, because they are so far ahead on just every level with this, minus being a car company, but with all of their research and data, they will still continue to be light years ahead.
The pioneer.
Yeah, I mean,
But we saw Ford and GM, pioneers in the auto industry in the early 1900s, eventually get taken over.
What helps them is they are still auto companies that turn a profit. Right now, Tesla's not making a profit. Or
a very small one.
Yeah, very, very small. So Ford can do this on a large scale, and they are making profit, so they can dedicate more resources and revenue to developing, stronger
I think partially what you're saying too is Tesla's in a position where they're reinventing what they already have, where all these other companies are just trying to get something on the platform.
They're just trying to get in the door. Yeah. They're trying to get at the party.
But eventually, that gap's going to narrow more and more, especially when you have companies like Porsche putting out a very awesome product.
I've been lucky enough to drive a Taycan a few times. They're great. I mean, they are just such a different vehicle. It's an experience. You're still driving a Porsche. They are still built performance first.
And the speed.
They come on like it's nobody's freaking business.
I'm in just total transparency. I'm in the oil and gas industry, and I still love what electric vehicles offer. Yeah. I'm going to be banned from social media pretty soon.
As far as production, I think that's where they'll get beat out on. I think these companies will be able to produce quicker. And if I'm at a point where I have to choose between Tesla and another car, I think that's where Tesla will lose because I can't get Tesla tomorrow. I can get probably another car.
That's Tesla's biggest issue is they can't fill on orders. Yeah. Like the Tesla Roadster, they still haven't delivered one model.
I remember that video.
People that were on the list from 3 years ago, they're like, give me my money back. I'm buying a different Tesla. Right. I mean, Tesla's just now reinvented their first car, Tesla Model S.
Yeah.
Came out with the it's a weird name. But anyway, they came out with a better engine, better battery, and
better interior.
Yeah, they've redesigned it, but it's still the same structure of a car, but they've reinvented it. Again, they're reinventing. Their biggest problem is delivering.
That's the second part.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. Tom Brady had a okay game.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. But he's kind of stamped his place in the greatest of all times of all athletes, I feel like.
Yep.
Ryan disagreed with me last week, but we'll get into that later. Really quickly, Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, greatest athlete of all time. If you had to choose between those two,
I hate this.
So athlete is a strong word here because if you put the two next to each other,
no, you can't say who can jump higher. He plays a sport.
Okay,
that makes him an athlete.
Let's chill out here on the word athlete. Okay, in Tom Brady's term, he is an athlete. He plays a sport. Right. He plays it at a high level. If we're matching athleticism, the word athlete with something on the end of it, Jordan would literally jump over him for decades.
I would say the athlete that the sport
based on their respective sport, who's the better player.
They've also done everything they can to protect the quarterback athlete, What have they done to protect the 6'6" point guard athlete?
I've seen it
really a
when the
point
Mavericks have been in the finals and they
guard.
called fouls against.
On Dwayne Wade all the time.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get it. Well, all I'm saying is
Every league protects their stars at this point.
totally.
Actually, sorry. Every league protects their money and their bottom line. Which
I remember
point.
Tom
happens
Brady's
to be
been
their
playing for
stars.
21 years. At first, they weren't.
That's true too.
They were letting him hit him.
Yeah, Tuck
They're
rule
letting him-
changed all that.
Yep, they're letting him lay him
So-
out.
Well, hit to the head, roughing the passer.
So anyway,
Who do you take?
I think the better athlete in the question is Michael Jordan. I think Tom Brady puts himself on the Mount Rushmore right next to Michael Jordan.
I mean, if you phrase the question is who's been more impactful to their sport or who's going to go down in history in their sport as their greatest of all time, and then trying to compare those two, I think what Brady's accomplished is far more superior than what Michael Jordan accomplished. However, better athlete, I have to go with Michael Jordan because I think there's 20 players in the NFL right now that are better athletes than Tom Brady.
20? There's 20 on his team.
I mean, you've seen his draft tape.
So
It's-
Brady's the first player to have 7 titles. He has more titles than every other, or than the most highest winning title teams in the NFL. He's got 7.
Yeah, no team has more Super Bowl titles than
Tom Brady.
has.
Yeah,
So,
he's amazing.
but in the NBA, you have Bill Russell's got more titles than Jordan, right?
You've got
right?
teams with more than 15
Yeah,
championships.
I mean, yeah, the Lakers have 17, the Celtics have 16, right? So,
You know, Michael Phelps had a tweet. It was really interesting. He said, whoa. I only got to compete at once every 4 years because they're trying to talk about titles and
Yeah,
how he had
and he's
gold
totally
medals.
right.
He's
He's
like,
absolutely right.
if I got to compete every year,
yep.
there'd be no question. There's not a
Listen.
better athlete in the world than Michael
You
Phelps.
can't do Michael Phelps, bro. I didn't have a pool down the street. I didn't swim. So if you were competing against my neighbors, well, not really my neighbors, you know what I mean.
What do you mean, Elton?
There might not have been such an advantage.
What about guys like Carl Lewis, though, who dominated the Olympics?
How about,
what about
Deion
Usain
Sanders? How about
Yeah,
Deion Sanders? Deion Sanders is the only player to ever
think
play
we're
in a
looking
Super
at
Bowl
athlete-
and a World Series.
Well, okay, he was also on really good teams. I would put Bo Jackson as a better athlete than Deion, not by a ton, but look at the position Bo Jackson played compared to what Deion played.
And I'll also talk about Tiger Woods. Has anyone done what Tiger Woods has done for their sport and won the way they've won? No.
but
Tiger
now
Woods,
you're
he
getting
comes-
And
into
Tiger Woods is a phenomenal athlete. Look
now
at
you're
him.
getting into impact on sport
Yeah, I
over
know.
athlete in the
It's
sport.
such a weird question because nobody has an answer because everybody interprets that question differently.
We need to get into that,
Yeah.
but we won't dig into
Not
it right
today.
now. All right, last one. We're already talking about the next Super Bowl. I'm excited. I'm a Cowboys fan. I feel like every year we're going to the Super Bowl, and I'm disappointed.
much like the rest of your fan base.
Who is your NFC and AFC pick to go to the Super Bowl next year?
I think the Chiefs are there next year. AFC is not very challenging. It's going to be the Bills and it's going to be the Chiefs. You know, Steelers aren't what they were. Ravens, to me, aren't as good as what we all think they are, in my opinion. I think it's Bills. I think it's Chiefs, what it's going to come down to. Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal player.
Yep.
We're going to get into this, but he reigns supreme in the NFL right now. So I think it's the Chiefs. And on the NFC side, there is a ton of healthy competition. And I think a lot of it's going to have to do with where quarterbacks end up. But when I look at what gets you to the Super Bowl, not what wins the Super Bowl, what gets you there, high-flying offense is a big deal. I actually really like the Cowboys. If Dak signs with the way this offense is built, it really will come down to how they draft. I'd love to do this after the draft and free agency to see if they get some key pieces because their defense is their weak link.
For sure.
We could have had 3,000-yard wide receivers
weakest link.
with decent rushing game and with one of the best QBs in the league with Dak Prescott. But do we sign him? Do we trade him? Who do we draft? Who do we get in free agency? But right now, if everything shakes out like I'm thinking it might, I'd like the Cowboys to be very competitive and probably get to the Super Bowl.
What do you think, Tristan?
I'm not going to deviate from the Chiefs. They have Mahomes. He's money. They have, an insane offense. If the defense could figure some things out, I think they would probably be pretty much perfect in terms of a football team. On the NFC side, man,
So much competition.
Just like Josh said, there is a ton of competition. There's I can name 2 teams in every division that would probably have a, like a 10-1 odds to go, right? Some of them maybe 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. I think the Packers are gonna make it next time. I feel
what's their weakest link?
With
toughness, grittiness,
wide receiver.
So you don't think it's anything defense related?
I think their defense is good
Adequate,
enough.
yeah.
I think it's good enough. They got diced up, and they got diced up properly, right? I just think Devontae Adams is so far above the rest of every one of their offensive players. Even Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones is great. He's a good running back. But between those two, the fall off gets even worse. And I think Aaron Rodgers needs weapons. Okay. And I think after last year's draft, seeing all the turmoil and all the controversy is going to wake up their organization to say, we have this guy. He is this good. Why have we only made it here one time in his career?
Well, unfortunately for them, we're going to see stacked drafts moving forward with wide receivers. There's going to be a plethora of high talent
wide receiver draft,
just like it was last year. Yep. I mean, so if they're smart, they get a wide receiver in the first or second round, and you're right. That might be the game changer.
Maybe they make a trade to do it because they understand that they took a quarterback in the first round last year, and what they could have had instead of him, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right. For me, listen, I just want to say that I was right in my pick for the Super Bowl, so I've been on a streak lately, so you may want to take me seriously.
Except the Bills.
That's my pick.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're good.
I think we saw the Achilles heel of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Again, this will be a really good debate after the draft and free agency, like June, July timeframe, when we have a better picture of what every team looks like.
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs could fill a lot of their weaknesses with the draft and free agency.
That's true.
But so could the Chiefs. Chiefs could get way better. I mean, there's so much. They're talking about Russell. We're not going to get in this right now because it will be a tangent. But they're talking about Russell Wilson being traded out of the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
Who the fuck knows what the NFL looks like next month? I mean, truly nobody knows.
You can't count out Tom Brady.
No, you can't.
What we do know is Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes put on a hell of a game.
They did.
Well,
no, Patrick Mahomes and the Bucks put on a hell of a game. There we go. So my is it NFC pick is Tampa Bay Bucks. You can't count out Tom Brady.
So you got the Bucks and Bills?
Yeah, if they keep the team intact, I think you can't count out
sounds
Tom
like you
Brady.
still think the conference championship in the AFC will be the Bills and Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be like that for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't help it. All right, guys, let's get into
Super Bowl.
actually Tom Brady. We're gonna dig a little deeper. No. I want to talk Super Bowl. Can we talk Super Bowl?
Yep.
You are allowed to talk Super Bowl.
Can we talk about these prop bets though?
You want to get in the top prop bets first?
Yeah,
let's do that. So everyone's talking about the streaker, so I'm going to get to that in a second. It wasn't a prop bet on some formats. Not everybody offered will somebody streak or run onto the field during the game. But that is what everyone's talking about since it happened. But what people really weren't talking about was the national anthem. Last week when we picked our over-under on the national anthem, it was allowed as a prop bet on all sites. And then some funny asshole outside of the stadium on, I think it was Thursday, recorded the national anthem rehearsal and timed it.
Nice.
And posted it on Bleacher Report. And from then on, everybody nixed it from their site. So if you got in early, congratulations if you picked the over, because they didn't just go over 119 seconds, which is right at 2 minutes. They blew past it. They went for 2 minutes and right at 17 seconds, which is unprecedented. If you followed the national anthem and the Super Bowls over the past, it's been under every year.
You don't think those bookies would have some intel on that stuff too?
They did. That's why they nixed it from their site. They didn't even
like some
change
intel
it.
on like, okay, it's going to be more than
No, that's
One
if
night.
they did, then that would be cheating. I mean, they set their over under based on historical data and blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter. They picked their over under, and when that came out showing that it didn't just go over by a second or two, they went over by 18 seconds. They're like, "Fuck that, we can't have this on our site anymore."
I didn't even hear of that happening, but they
nobody
started
talked about it.
They started singing, and I said, "Shit, this is going to be too long."
The first 2 seconds, you could go
All
down
you
that
needed to
too.
hear was duet to know it was going to be a long one.
I thought it
Coin toss, the prop bet that I liked on this one wasn't necessarily the coin toss. I liked the prop bet that said who kicks off, and I like I just like the Bucks kicking off, and that's what happened. So I won that. But if you didn't see it, it was heads. Overall, prop betting, there is a strategy to be had. To really win in prop bets, you need to pick the team you think is going to win, and you go heavy on props that are facilitated by that team.
That was hard. That was the hardest thing because I was going for the Bucks.
Yep.
But I would have betted Kansas City.
And I was diehard Chiefs, diehard everything about them, way underestimated their tackles not playing. And so all of my prop bets, I centered around Chiefs.
Yeah.
So if it was Leonard Fournette or Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting the most rushing yards, I went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If it was Gronk getting more receiving yards or Kelsey, I went Kelsey.
For sure.
If you did that, you lost the majority of your prop bets, and it showed. I hit 35% or 36%. Ryan was an admirable 56%. Tristan was at 20 and you were at 40.
Listen,
let's say why I was at 20.
Talk about it, please.
Yeah, I mean, I made the bummer of instead of filling out my prop bets, I was making our graphics. So,
touche.
But I will not ever make an excuse why I couldn't just fill them in real quick. I just got behind the ball, focused on graphics, forgot all about my picks.
Graphics are important.
They are very important.
And so just looking at it, Tristan, in your defense, the ones you did pick, it looks like you would have been around 40 to 50%.
Okay, I'll take that.
You didn't do too bad in the ones you picked. Elton,
I would have done really well.
Not very respectable.
I didn't pick all mine.
Oh, okay. Another one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I did a little bit more than Tristan did.
So you get a little bit more credit.
A little bit more credit.
If there is any extra credit at the end of the class, come to the desk and I'll give it to you.
I mean, those were easy ones that I would have probably gotten
I think some of the ones that people thought were fun ones to bet on that could end up being decent returns were, will the defense score? Will there be a safety? Will there be a missed extra point or field goal? None of this happened. Right. This was as boring and standard of a game with scoring that you would expect. Now, the one prop bet that would have been juicy, there's probably two. You could bet whether or not Gronkowski scores 2 touchdowns, and the odds were ridiculous. If you bet $10, you would have won like $500. Another one that was really juicy was the Chiefs don't score a touchdown. If you don't know, 2 teams in the history of the Super Bowl before this game didn't score a touchdown. Who in their right mind would bet one of the best offenses in the league ever would add to the list and not score a touchdown? And so if you bet that, it was something ridiculous like, I don't know, 10,000 to 1. I don't even know what it was. It was awful.
Why don't people just put money down? Is there like a minimum?
Some sites there are. Like my site that I'm on, it's $25 minimum. You're not going to just throw $25 on every prop bet that's out there because you'll lose your ass. But
I would have bet Gronk. I knew Gronk or AB were going to have a good game.
And you should have bet it. Here's the deal. I put $1,200 across a bunch of prop bets and on the Chiefs winning and everything else. I walked away.
Talk about it.
I won $62. And the only reason I won any money and didn't lose money was because I hit the Gatorade color at the end. I bet blue. I chose blue on the podcast.
I was waiting. Did they film it?
They didn't. They didn't show it.
Okay.
There were pictures and video after the fact that we were able to go to see what it was. I bet $25 and won $146 because it was blue. So that saved me. I went from being down 80 overall to being up $60 overall. So kind of crazy when you think about having $1,200 wagered over all these things. At the end of the day, I only won 62, but at least I didn't lose. But it's all thanks to the Gatorade color being blue.
Thanks, Gatorade.
Did you either of you have a prop bet that you really thought good about and it hit or it didn't hit?
It was the national anthem for me.
Yeah, and you didn't hit.
I was under. I got excited, okay, because is it Eric Church?
Eric Church and Jasmine.
He came out with Jasmine Sullivan.
It should be Jasmine.
Let's get it corrected. He came out with a guitar, and I got super excited because I'm like, he's going to play.
Pace it. Yep.
And she's going to sing it, and it's going to keep a good pace.
Nope.
Bro, and after they switched off and she went in on her lines, I'm like, damn it. I'm way under.
How about you, Tristan?
Well, looking at it before the week, I liked the one where would either team score 3 straight times because that really happens in Super Bowls.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But in my head, I thought, yes, a team would score 3 straight times, just not the Bucks. I was way off on who and how I thought this game would go. And I really like prop bets that have to do with actual like plays in the game.
Yeah.
So like the one, will 2.5 people throw a pass Okay,
That was an interesting one.
I would have bet the under only because the quarterbacks are Mahomes and Brady.
Yeah, they're not giving the ball to anybody else.
No, if you you don't let other people throw the ball. And you have
The only
Mahomes
way
and Brady.
that actually does hit though is if there's an injury.
True.
Then you're fucked. Like it's like goddamn. That's why I hate those types of bets.
And you also can't put it past a guy like Tom Brady to work in something where he just kind of steps off to the side and lets a guy like Scotty Miller throw a deep pass downfield, and if they hit it, they hit it. But
not in the Super Bowl though.
Yeah.
Well,
because if anything goes wrong,
my own team has lost on a wide receiver bomb.
Harvin?
No. This was in 2005. Antoine Randall L. threw a pass to Hines
Randall
Ward.
L.
Yep. That was the game where Big Ben.
Oh, that's right. The Steelers. I do remember that play.
Yep. So anyway, plays like that, I'm always interested.
Because it shocks. Because nobody thinks they'll fucking do it.
Nobody thinks it'll. I mean, why would you do a flea flicker in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Well, hey. So I like seeing plays that are prop bets placed on plays. So
Well, you talk about. I think majority of people thought Chiefs going into it.
I didn't.
But most of the big bets were on the Buccaneers. You had Mattress Mac down in Houston putting $3+ million on the Bucks +3. You had another guy make a $2 million bet. Several celebrities put hundreds of thousands of dollars on the Bucks. Maybe that was the sign that I should have put money on the Bucks.
I think it was a big wave at the end. Like people were talking Bucks.
And I think it's because the more we talked and the more people talked about the tackles being out, and then Tom Brady having one of the best defenses he's ever had going in the Super Bowl, like that was going to matter. And I just love Mahomes. I went to Tech. I've met Mahomes. I've had beers with Mahomes. So I bet with my emotions. No question about it. Well, no, I got to give backstory.
I'm just joking.
Anyone can drink with him. He's the coolest dude. He's fucking humble. He's quiet. He just sits there and just is the cool dude. And he's very personable. He's a guy's guy. He's just an awesome dude.
Class act, very class
So
act.
if you're ever in a room near him, go up to him and talk to him. He'll talk to you and he'll drink a beer with you. But because of that, I bet with my feelings. But I want to get to the storyline of the game. The storyline going in was if Brady wins, he gets 7.
Yes.
The all-elusive 7 probably can never be done again. But if Mahomes wins, Brady stays at 6. Mahomes now has 2.
and he's beaten Brady.
And he's beaten Brady. And now he's in a position, could he go on and win 4? Sure. But now he's in a position just to tie Brady. He has to go on and win 6 more. And so it brings to question the legacies of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. So I want to throw it to y'all.
Even if you win 7, you lose to Tom Brady. That's going to hang over your head forever.
All right, so I'll pose the question to you since you feel so, passionate.
Very much so.
Legacies. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, where are they now?
Oh, Tom Brady is already etched in stone.
I know. So let's talk Mahomes then.
It's still to be written. I think we gave him the GOAT or the future GOAT too soon. He looked, I think in the beginning he kind of looked frazzled. His team for sure looked frazzled with the spotlight, missing passes with the ball hitting their helmet.
What about the game makes you feel that anything that led up to it about who Mahomes or what Mahomes is different now? What from that game changed that?
No, he's still okay.
What does Brady beating him have to do with it? Did Brady beat Mahomes or did the Buccaneers beat Mahomes?
Here's the thing. I'm a LeBron fan. You have to chop this one up, this game, this loss, as LeBron's loss to the Mavericks.
Oh, see, I disagree.
I think they're
That's
very
so
similar.
different.
And you have to. I can let him get away with it because he's
LeBron
young.
didn't get shut down because 3 of his best teammates were injured. And so all they did was triple team LeBron James.
Play that good.
Okay,
yes,
but there's
exactly.
more involved. There's more involved in football, but it was shown that they shrunk under the spotlight. Not just.
I
Mahomes,
disagree. I don't think anything
different.
about Mahomes' performance was shrinking. Mahomes probably had one of the
team.
greatest throws in NFL history of all time.
It was
horizontally,
if it catched, it would have
a
been
foot off
amazing.
the ground from the 30-yard line, laser beams his guy on the goal line, hits the guy in his hands and his face. Mahomes ran for his life the minute the ball was hiked.
And he ran out on the outside. Why didn't
He ran
cut
almost
in the middle?
500 yards
Yeah.
before passing the ball in the Super Bowl. He ran for his life. He did everything humanly possible to give his team a chance other than throw the ball and then run down and catch it before it landed. I don't think you could take anything away from Mahomes as a player and how good he is because of the Super Bowl performance. If anything, he elevated my mind.
And
What?
I don't think he went either forward or backwards.
Other than the Super Bowl ring count?
Except that. What I do think is he is talented enough to make every play on the field at any given time. He didn't really have the opportunity. And he didn't get a lot of help from teammates on both sides of the ball. And when you start talking about like the drive before the second half ended, where Tampa Bay goes down, they get 3 pass interference penalties.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
One was uncatchable in the end zone.
Come on. I mean,
Okay.
They get 3 pass interference calls,
mean,
right?
they were-
And the one that was uncatchable in the end zone, was that the one where Matthew contacted after 7 yards? Matthew is a good player. He's probably the best secondary player
in the league.
Not in the league,
but
he's definitely the best
top
secondary
5.
player.
Top 5, top 5.
On the Chiefs, maybe on the Bucks, and he should know that any time after 5 yards you contact a player, whether it's 7 yards from the end zone or 75 yards from the end zone, you're going to get called for that penalty every single time. Why did he line up 8 yards off of Mike Evans? Why? Why would you do that?
I think it was the spotlight, and they were giving away penalties in the season, but they were able to win and look past it. I don't think they were as focused for sure. And they let go of penalties in the season. I mean, it didn't surprise me that they were getting penalties in the Super Bowl.
No, well, and I'm not going to be the person who blames the entire game on the penalty. You just have to play better overall.
I think it made a huge difference.
Well, it did make a huge difference. It's not the worst officiated game I've ever seen because some of the penalties on the Chiefs were just bad. Like they were just really bad.
I do have a problem with a female ref who named her son after Tom Brady officiating in the game.
Well, would you feel?
It was awful optics. And she threw a flag on a field goal and called a player offsides based on replay. I don't see it. I don't think anybody sees the offsides call. And they, instead of kicking a field goal and getting 3 points, they got a new fresh set of downs, ended up getting a touchdown. That type of shit changes
Tom
the
is a
dynamic of
common
a game.
name, Tommy.
Right.
No,
but
the kid's name is Brady.
Brady, I know Brady's.
Oh, God. I think she's admitted that she named him after Tom Brady. I'd have to research more, but fucking son's named after Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I also think a guy like Matthew somebody else was living rent free in his head that
Yeah,
game.
he was outplayed.
He got schooled. He got barbecued by Antonio Brown on that touchdown. He got beaten a bunch of times during the game. He missed tackles. So when your best defensive player is having a shit game, it trickles downhill. Shit rolls downhill. It rolls downhill in a football game. He didn't look very good. Now, maybe some of those penalties that he didn't think he committed got in his head. All right, throw it to the side. Live to play another down. And he didn't really play with that type of mentality, I don't think.
I think besides Mahomes, the best player on the Chiefs was the streaker. If you haven't seen the video or listened to the Kevin Harlan's call, which is
Kevin Harlan is
phenomenal, this dude in a leotard outruns everybody on the field for a good 30 seconds, and it was untackable.
Like slides into the end zone.
And the Chiefs had the ball, so I just got to say, like, he was the best Chiefs player on the field other than Mahomes. If you happen to bet that, it was, I believe, 750 to 1. So that means 75 to 1. You bet $100, you win 7,500. If you're smart enough to take that, good for you. Congratulations. The controversy, though, is after the fact, the streaker came out and talked about whether or not, what he did was right. And he comes back and says that I did it because I bet on myself. He alleges that he won $375,000 by betting on whether or not somebody would streak in the game. He bet $50,000. And the reason we have a problem with that is
We don't think he had that cash.
that, A, and B, there's not a book in the world that I know of that lets you put that much on a prop bet. especially with those odds. They cap you at 1,000 or 500 because they know ultimately it can happen, and they don't want to go bankrupt because they let somebody take a bet.
Right.
Because if they don't get it, yeah, they may lose 5,000 or 50,000, but that doesn't change the sports book.
Right.
But if they hit it and they win 375,000, that hurts.
Well, yeah, I also got to think that a sports book isn't going to let somebody put that much money on a bet of that nature when that person who puts the money on can be the guy who wins himself the bet.
Well, and so that's my question. If you're the sports book, do you think legally you can challenge it if the person that put the bet is the person that executed it? Because it'd be like throwing the game.
Yes, you tell a wise guy that he can't challenge something like that. The wise guys are the best at tilting the line in their favor. So when the little man does it, what do you think happens? Look at Wall Street. Look at Wall Street a couple weeks ago with that whole AMC, the whole...
shout out to Reddit.
Yeah, shout out to Reddit, all those guys. Look what happens. When the little guy starts winning, the big guys get pissed, and they just shut things down. So same thing can happen in sports betting.
Well, and I apologize. I said 75 to 1. It was 750 plus odds, which means if you bet 100, you win 750. So he bet 50,000 on himself, supposedly, and he alleges that he then won 375,000. But listen, before we get done with the Super Bowl, I want to know, you talk about Mahomes, you're pretty passionate. You talk about Brady. What was the biggest surprise of the game to you, or your biggest takeaway?
Biggest surprise was that pass by Patrick Mahomes. I was extremely impressed. We had a special guest.
Cleaning crew.
I was extremely impressed with. When I saw that, I couldn't rewind it, of course, but I couldn't wait till the next day to see how parallel he was to the ground. But I think that was the biggest surprise for me. Oh, and the blowout. I didn't know it was going to be such a blowout.
Somebody has that picture in 4K. What's a good picture quality for that?
I mean, just take the 4K video and freeze it on that frame.
You can do that with 4K? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that and have it blown up and be crisp, because everything that I've seen has been blurry because it was such a...
So the photo, the best photo I saw was from the sideline he was closest to, so you're not getting... What you want is the guy in the end zone that he's throwing to with a 400 millimeter lens zoomed all the way in.
There we go. That's why we have a photographer.
That is the guy who's laying on the ground with his lens literally, probably on a water bottle just to keep it off the ground, and he is looking straight at Patrick Mahomes. So I want that picture. You're going to see that. It's going to be insane.
I want that.
What did you think about the mirrorless cameras they had on field? The blur effect?
They've been doing that for all the playoffs.
Yeah, well, and they started it, I think, in the end of the season, like the last couple primetime games, and I absolutely love that.
I really like
it. Starts off blurry, but then all of a sudden it goes into focus, and it's almost like you're playing like a
4K feed
or Madden, or the new Madden, like the live game mode or whatever it's. I haven't played it in a few years, but like that live game mode, that's what it looks like, and I just like the feel of being in the celebration, being on the field, and you're up close, right?
Right.
Well, and not to get into the weeds about this, if you don't know, I don't care if you have a 4K TV, 8K TV, or just a standard flat screen TV that's HD. The feed you get normally when you watch a football or any sporting event is you get it in 720p, okay? If you watch a 12 o'clock game that's an NFL game, you're getting it in 720. If you don't know the difference, I encourage you to watch a Sunday night or Monday night football game, because that is always broadcasted in 1080. And there is a noticeable difference in the quality of the feeds.
Yeah.
The big thing that they're going to move to eventually is 4K. And I'm pretty sure the cameras they're using for this are 4K cameras. And that's what they want the whole game to feel like. And so I'm glad they're bringing that in.
Oh, I felt so immersed.
But I'm incredibly disappointed that last year the Super Bowl for the first time was in 4K, and this year, because of COVID, whatever the fuck that means,
it's an excuse
they didn't do 4K. And we are so behind Europe when it comes to adopting 4K for live video, especially sporting events. It's frustrating. The fact that we still broadcast most things on TV in 720 is frustrating when everyone's using 1080p at this point.
Right.
So that was disheartening.
I think maybe that might just come down to the overall production cost of cameras.
I don't buy it.
Yeah,
they're making millions and billions. I mean, every soccer event in Europe is in 4K at this point.
Right, but I'm saying
you need it because
a lot of the shows you're seeing that aren't on the CBSs, the NBCs, the major networks, a lot of those shows are being filmed by smaller production companies.
You
now.
say that, but if you ever want to see this, your feed, like when they're installing or calibrating your TV and they want to go to something on TV broadcasted, you know what channel they go to?
I don't.
The Cooking Channel, Food Network, or ESPN, because those are two of the 1080p broadcasting channels typically on cable. So I'm kind of surprised. Food Network has been an early adopter of trying to use relative technology.
Well, I got to see all those granules of salt and
for sure,
that crispy flakiness on the muffins I'm cooking.
All right, so my biggest takeaway, and I've got to go back to this because we've talked a lot about the head coaching openings in the NFL.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy has been a hot prospect for multiple years, and there's been a lot of issues with him not getting a head coaching gig. And so he is the passing game coordinator. If you don't know what that means, he doesn't exactly call plays during the game. His responsibility leading up to any game or every game is having his players ready to execute specific plays that he designs for that game. They went into that game not having their 2 tackles. They restructured their offensive line. They moved players around. They put in, substitute players, backups to fill those spots. You have to know you're going up against one of the top 3 defenses in the league. You have to help your offensive line out. And if you're not ready or you're not exactly sure what's going to be thrown at you, after the first half, you've got 30 minutes. It's the Super Bowl. Most halftimes are 15. Super Bowl, you get 30 minutes to adjust.
No adjustment.
And help your offensive line.
Yep.
There was 0.
Yep.
And so I put this loss more heavily on Eric Bieniemy.
Don't do that.
And Andy Reid.
How dare you? Oh, okay. I'm just kidding.
Than any one player on that field. And there was a lot of drop passes. And I wonder, maybe there's something to why he hasn't been giving a head coaching job. Now, I won't defend coaches that have been given a shot that I don't think deserve a shot. That's another argument. But this was not a good selling point for Eric Bieniemy.
Didn't help his resume.
No.
At all.
And I
Didn't
mean,
help his case.
that's a big surprise to me. I didn't think it would fall that heavily on him, but the more you watch, the deeper you go into it, the more you realize that is his job, and that's what he's supposed to prepare his players for. But for me, the biggest surprise, biggest takeaway, this can lead into a couple segments, but the word is free agency here. Now, I didn't do the research on it. I didn't have time to go back and look at every Super Bowl winner over the past, 55 Super Bowls. But I want to ask you guys, how many Super Bowl winners do you think all of their points were scored by people they didn't draft?
Yeah, there's no way for me to recall, but that's fascinating.
There isn't. I'm pretty sure there isn't. Now, all of the Bucs' points were scored by people they didn't draft. 3 of their people weren't even on their team last year.
That's impressive.
I can believe that. I can see that.
Right?
Well, yeah, bringing in Brady, you get it. Bringing in Gronk, you get it. But Gronk's been irrelevant all season.
Right.
Oh, I know he was going to. Come on. It's the
You
biggest
knew he was going to score 2 touchdowns?
I knew he was going to show out.
I thought if anybody excelled in the game that we weren't maybe thinking, it was Antonio Brown on the Bucs.
Okay, you know what gave it away? Those, first he had a commercial together. And he had, they were doing, video film, I don't know, they're cameraing. I don't know what they were doing. They were following each other with the camera, and they were talking, and they were vibing out because they got to the Super Bowl.
But that's what they do. I mean,
they were in their beds, in the hotel. They were like, yo, just throw me the ball in the end zone 2 times. Just let me get in there.
I mean, once the game started, once you saw how it was going, it was pretty apparent that Brady was going to go to his boy, and it was working. That's the thing, though. The Chiefs weren't doing anything to stop him.
Because
they did nothing
they didn't even know what to stop.
Yeah,
right.
The defense was, and that's the other thing, biggest surprise or takeaway is just how bad the defense looked for the Chiefs. They haven't looked that bad this year, but they got embarrassed.
So what I'm circling back to is the biggest surprise is how important free agency can be to a team who might not be there, but 1 or 2 people can put them over the top.
Yeah, this team doesn't win the Super Bowl with Jameis at the helm.
Not even close. This team doesn't win this team doesn't win the Super Bowl if they have to rely on Cameron Brate at tight end all year.
This is what really matters in being the GOAT. The leadership. It was Tom Brady that brought the Super Bowl.
Well, and so there were stories going out after the game that the night before the Super Bowl, he was texting all of his players
all week.
But the night before was like his final notes, like his final thought. Like he would text his defensive backs and say, "These guys can't cut after 7 yards. You guys have them beat. You will tackle them faster than they can get away from."
He was a good hype man.
And he just kept doing that with all of his positions. So
mad respect
Totally.
Okay.
As much as I hated him,
I
can't hate him anymore.
want to give a shout out to this beer that I've been sipping on. I've got another one, but I think it's time that we go ahead and introduce the audience to what we're drinking this week.
Ooh.
We have, out of Houston, Texas, this is the Spindle Tap Brewery. And what I have in front of me, what we're all about to open up, is called the Honey Hole Honey Ale.
Honey Hole, I like that. Honey Hole.
This is 6% alcohol. You know, it's a nice light beer. According to the can, it won a silver award at the
American Beer Festival.
Great American Beer Festival. That's a
Boom.
That's a pretty big.
That's huge.
Award
It's a great
to win.
festival.
Very huge.
The
If you're American.
can's got themes of honeycomb on it, as well as a nice badge.
It better be sweet. Is it sweet?
I'm gonna let you find that out here in just a second.
Because it's throwing me off on the bees.
Well,
If it's got a bitter bite, I'm gonna be upset.
hey, maybe it'll sting.
Don't throw
I'm
beef
sorry.
on there.
I keep going back every time you do this, Tristan. The artwork on all these beers is so phenomenal.
I love it. I love it. And this one's got a special look for Texas on it. It's got an oil rig in the background.
Love it.
You know, I mean, Josh is in the oil and gas business, so. But it's a nice, easy can to look at. That's actually what caught my eye. They had a couple other ones too that were really good. But we've been doing a lot of IPAs, and these smaller breweries, they get into the game on IPAs because there's some of the easier beers to brew. You can create multiple beers off of an IPA. And so I wanted to go with something that's just a little bit different, a little bit easier on the palate, but it's still got a pretty good punch to it. It's just 6% alcohol, so.
Let me get into it. Y'all have jumped the gun on me.
Well, yeah, we came light tonight, so we've been drinking the
heavy.
subject. So
Here
here
we
we go. All right, give it a smell.
Okay. Okay, the smell. I like it.
We don't smell beer enough. We smell wine.
We do it wrong. We are, and folks, we're gonna dial this beer segment in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. We're gonna take a little bit of time off. I think we're all just kind of.
Yeah, we're switching to liquor. Woo! I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I wish I wasn't, but
I'm just trying to think of how that podcast would end.
Oh man, it would be a lot of cursing and swearing. I believe it.
Anyway, what did you think?
I liked it. I do like it. It's a.
Is it easy to drink?
Yes.
Like if you had to drink this beer for a dinner, what would you have with it?
Ooh, salmon.
Salmon? Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
That's impressive.
Nice.
I would say the same.
Yeah.
I would say the same. It's a
I
salmon.
can see it with like
It's
a barbecue
lighter-
chicken, like a sweet barbecue
Yeah.
chicken sauce, something saucy.
like a honey glazed salmon.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was good.
I'd rather halibut, but salmon more common.
Halibut's good too. So basically,
Halibut.
you
Okay.
could pair this with fish.
I think so, just because of the citrus or the orange undertone.
See, I wouldn't jump to like a beef. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
say
this
beef.
is to me this is a subtle take on Blue Moon, but easier to drink, and I can drink this more. A Blue Moon, I can
heavier.
drink
It's
one, but it's
heavy.
heavy. Heaven wise, and then I slow down after a couple. This I could keep drinking.
And you don't necessarily need an orange to brighten this one up.
No, I
it's
wouldn't
got
put
enough
any
sweetness
fruit on
with
it. Yeah, it's got a good flavor.
Anyway, we are all in cahoots that the Spindle Tap Brewery out of Houston, Texas is a winner with this Honey Hole Honey Ale. So good work, guys. We're going to tag you in a couple photos, and hopefully you respond and send us free beer.
All right. So if there's one thing that does go good with beer, and I'm going to go against every rule that's ever been written, this beer would go great with a pineapple Canadian bacon jalapeno pizza.
I second that.
I completely disagree. You guys are fools. There should never be a pineapple on a pizza.
Why not?
Shouldn't even be in the same room.
Tell me why.
Why would you need a pineapple near a pizza?
Why wouldn't you want it there?
Because I'm in the islands when I mean
I'm with
pineapple.
Elton on this. I don't understand pineapple on it. Would you eat a pizza with strawberries on it?
It's different.
Why is it different? It's
No,
fruit.
it's-
All I'm saying is this
Pineapple-
beer, I could see it going perfectly with a pineapple Canadian bacon, but you can do pineapple, but you better put fucking jalapenos on it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
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 Put some jalapenos.
Take the sweet, take the spice,
Put some
yeah.
respect on that pizza.
Yeah.
So
I second that.
the same reason that we don't put strawberries on a hamburger, but we can put it on a burger and call it a Hawaiian burger
Yeah.
with barbecue sauce,
I don't do
onions.
that.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
It,
I've never had a Hawaiian burger.
you've never seen anybody grill pineapple
on a burger?
on
On a burger?
Name another food people grill pineapple with.
teriyaki chicken.
Boom. That's a good one.
Okay. Teriyaki chicken.
Yeah.
Can we fill in the audience? Can we get some context?
Yeah, yesterday,
Thank you, 'cause
February
they think this is so
9th,
random.
was National Motherfucking Pizza Day.
Boom.
If there's a
Absolutely.
better holiday out there besides Christmas or Thanksgiving, call in, let us know. Because everybody loves pizza.
Pizza's
It's a
amazing.
breakfast food. It's a dinner food. It's a lunch food. It's a snack.
You can eat it cold.
You can eat it hot.
Oh, yes,
Bam.
it is. It's a good food.
It is a
yeah.
Covers
great
all
food.
5 food groups.
The only thing
does.
it doesn't cover is fruit. Unless
It-
you have jalapeno.
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Actually, tomatoes are fruit as well.
All right, let's
I wasn't
let's
gonna
give
say that. I was-
Tristan a chance to tell the audience that he is a pizza connoisseur.
Arguably
Tristan,
point.
what is your favorite pizza style? What are you ordering when you order a pizza?
So I am a traditionalist. I do like the plain pepperoni. It's simple. It's easy.
Yeah.
If I'm dressing it up a little bit, I can go pepperoni with bacon. I can do pepperoni with sausage. I like to throw some peppers on there. Peppers add a nice little kick to it. They're not too much kick, but they add a little bit of spice to an already spicy pizza. But what I really love to do is cut that spice down with some sweetness.
Yeah.
And that's where the pineapple falls straight out the frickin' islands onto my pizza.
It doesn't
Now
fall.
you've lost me. I'm lost.
It's
lost me with the pineapple.
It's
Okay,
harvested,
all right,
it's
all
shipped,
right.
it's flown
Okay.
over. I don't care.
All right, crust type.
Ooh.
I'm a thick crust guy.
Okay.
Thick crust.
Elton, lay it on me. What are you ordering?
When I judge a steak, just give me the steak. Don't give me any sauce. Just cook it plain.
Well, we're not talking about steak, so we're talking
When
about
I
pizza.
judge a hamburger, just give me patties and a bread and I'll judge
Are
it.
you scared?
When I'm judging a pizza, just give me pepperoni. Pepperoni pizza, you can cook it long. I don't know how they cook it. Doesn't even matter. I just love
About 425, 15, 18 minutes. I
pepperoni
mean,
pizza.
That's your favorite?
I would have to say, I mean, I like adding stuff, but then
What's your crust?
I like thin.
Then
Listen, but that garlic crust is on point on some of these spots.
like stuffed cheesy bread, garlic
No,
crust. Oh.
now I'm constipated. Took me too far.
yeah, you just roll it up into a ball and eat it at that point. I mean, that's,
All right, so I just want to say something for all our listeners that are in the north. Fuck deep dish. It's lasagna, and
too
y'all
much.
call it pizza. So I just want to get that off my chest because I don't think it's pizza.
We've lost a lot of fans.
You have to use a fucking fork and a knife to eat it.
It's too much.
Not pizza. However, my favorite pizza, I'm gonna start with the dough. It's got to be thin crust. I just think you get way more flavor and you don't get full on the bread, so you get to
Agreed.
really enjoy it.
You can eat a whole pizza.
Yep. You can go square cut. You can go triangle cut. You can have a lot of fun with a pizza.
Right.
I'm a supreme guy. Give me the Canadian bacon, the sausage, the Italian sausage preferably, the pepperoni,
Peppers, all that.
the bell
greens.
peppers, the jalapenos, the onion, the black olives. Give it all to me.
Bro, just get a salad.
If I'm paying $15 for a pizza, give me everything on it.
Just get a salad. Salad with pizza.
No.
You don't need all those greens on that pizza.
There's no greens. It's a bell pepper. That's the only thing green on my
That's
pizza.
green. That's
I,
green.
I love bell peppers.
Onions.
I love red peppers, but not everybody offers red peppers. Red peppers have more flavor.
they usually offer them in
crust.
crushed version.
Yeah.
What is the banana? You like the banana?
The banana peppers, I'm not a banana pepper person.
Those are good though. Those really help out a pepperoni for sure.
I think jalapeno. I think a really solid pizza is thin crust, pepperoni, jalapeno
I agree.
See, I love the jalapeno flavor.
with fucking pineapple.
I will cook a pizza with jalapenos on it and then take the jalapenos off.
Interesting.
Because I don't necessarily like the texture of a cooked
Why not
jalapeno.
get like a sweat of pepper over a pizza?
What?
Y'all never sweated a spicy pepper? It's where you basically squeeze the juice out of a pepper. A lot of people do it with habaneros.
Oh, I did that for churches.
Yeah,
Churches
you'll boil.
do-
You can boil the peppers.
I do kind of like the baked in flavor of a jalapeno with the juice on top, but I just don't like the actual texture of eating a
I got you.
cooked jalapeno.
Okay. I just thought yesterday was National Pizza Day. We can't ignore it.
We gotta talk about it.
Gotta talk about it.
And hey, real quick, what movie signifies pizza more than any movie you've ever seen?
Home Alone.
I don't know.
I just gave the first answer.
Wow.
Macaulay Culkin
Pizza.
ordering a cheese pizza before he annihilates the burglars.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Thank you.
Turtles.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That is. So I think I was 7 or 8 years old because I'm
Yeah.
an old guy. When that movie came out is when I was like, I have to have this pizza, and I have to have it every single
Hold
day.
on. Elton, what pizza do they eat? Not the brand. What is their
Oh,
pizza?
It's cheese.
No.
No.
No. What is it?
They're turtles. Think about what turtles kind of feast on.
You lost me.
Anchovies.
Okay, I remember. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's all coming back.
Now, for a little bit of backstory context, I've worked in a couple pizza joints for quite a long time. It's a real thing. People actually order pizzas with anchovies on them. They come in a tin. It looks like an Altoids can, but you have to crank it open. It's the smell that is enough to ruin anything in the kitchen. And so anytime I had to make an anchovy pizza, it would basically be like I go into the walk-in, I make it, I throw it straight into the oven, and it's boxed and gone.
All right.
Anyway, here we go.
Oh, God.
We didn't want to start our show off today with something that's really divisive or controversial.
We keep it lighthearted.
We keep it lighthearted, and the Super Bowl just happened. Like, we don't want to gloss over. That is the most relevant thing in sports. Super Bowl just happened. And we tend to stay away from politics on our show. If you've listened, you probably know that. However, we can't not address this. We live in Dallas. It's happened in Dallas.
For sure.
Mark Cuban came out yesterday that since the season started, the Dallas Mavericks have not been playing the national anthem. It was not made aware to the fans because fans had not been at the first, I don't know what it was, 10 or 12 or 15 home games until this week.
Do you think if you were at the game, you would have even noticed that they
Absolutely.
Okay.
The national anthem means something to me.
Right.
My whole family served or is affiliated with the military. I take the meaning of taking that time.
Right.
Not just to acknowledge that we live in, I think, the greatest country in the world, but I think we also take that time to honor and give respect to those that have served, those that are serving, those that have died, lost their lives, and also honoring the families of people that have service members. So Mark Cuban decided this is such a controversial thing. I don't want my players to have to deal with it. I don't want the fans to have to be divided. Let's just not play it.
Right.
And so that's what they did. Nobody knew about it because nobody was there. And then now the fans have come back.
And half of the team is European, so.
There's that. However, now there's controversy.
Yeah.
It came out. Mark Cuban made his position very known. It's divisive. I don't think it represents all of my players. My players don't feel like it represents them. We need to listen to them. I understand the other side of it too, so let's just not have it. And NBA came out later this day and said, no, every NBA team is going to play the national anthem now that fans are coming back. Dallas Stars came out and they tweeted, we will continue to honor and respect the country and the state of Texas as the only NHL team and play the national anthem before every home game.
Shots.
Yeah, and I'm paraphrasing. If you haven't seen the tweet, go and read it. But it's interesting. It's a highly controversial topic ever since Colin Kaepernick, 6 years ago, I think it is now, decided to take a knee.
Well, the NBA took the stand when they went to the bubble with the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter T-shirts. They
leaned in on it.
They put Black Lives Matter important people and high-profile people that have lost their lives to police brutality on the back of their jerseys or expressions on the back of their jerseys.
They leaned in politics for sure.
I think there is a time for politics in sports. I'm not a person that's going to say keep politics and sports separate. I think it's impossible. Some of the most iconic moments in sports have involved politics.
Olympics.
Muhammad Ali, Jesse Owens, really any Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had wars where we still had the Olympics, and the wars that were going on between countries still had their players or people competing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, fathom that. Fathom going to war with a country, and then we send athletes to compete against that country's athletes.
We've had players murdered by countries because
we've had terrorist attacks at the Olympics. How about Miracle Game? It was us versus the Soviets. Nobody at the time in America gave a flying fuck about hockey, but it was the USA against the USSR, and that meant something.
It was a literal David versus Goliath battle.
And that too, that added to it. Russia dominated hockey back then.
They were professionals.
They
Our
played
guys
professionals.
Were kids.
We played college athletes.
Yeah.
Our guys were kids.
Here's my point. I respect everybody on every side of this issue. I respect why some people decide to kneel. I decide why some people decide to stand. I understand people that stand and put their fists in the air. If you feel wronged, if you feel like there's an injustice, if you feel like something in this country matters to you and you want to make it known, one of the greatest rights we have as Americans is to protest. I lived in China. People don't have the right to protest in China. They don't have freedom of speech. They don't even have freedom of religion.
Right. I mean, they can, but
the problem in this country that I think people have on both sides is one side feels like they're not listened to. The other side feels like, okay, well, you're picking and choosing your battles, especially in the NBA when they're talking and fighting for injustice. One part of the country feels like, okay, you're speaking out against America, but you have no problem supporting China in a lot of the social injustices, the genocide that's actually happening in China. You don't speak out against it.
Right.
So you're picking and choosing your battles. And at the end of the day, it seems like the only thing you care about is money, and China told you to shut your mouth.
Way to go, Houston.
So there's that side of it. And there's the other side of it is black people feel like, and I want to speak, you're black, Hilton.
I am.
You have an opportunity.
I am.
But
I am.
I'm just paraphrasing what's happening. Black people feel like there's a grave injustice in this country. Racism is back. It's prevalent. Cops are treating black people and minorities differently than white people. And so I want to get your perspective on that. But when it comes to the national anthem, my only argument is you have 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes where you as an individual have the right to stand, to sit, put your hand over your heart, talk to your buddy, drink a beer, go to the bathroom, go to the concession. What you choose to do is your right. What the player chooses to do on the court, and I can't emphatically say this enough, it's their fucking right. If they want to kneel, they deserve and they have the right to kneel. But taking the opportunity away, and the most important aspect of it to me, to honor and respect the people that are currently fighting and losing their lives overseas. It's one moment where we as tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of fans gather to unify for a sport, to take a moment and be like, wow, we live in one of the greatest countries, the greatest country in the world. And to honor and respect those serving that give us the right to go to these games, to give us the right for these athletes to play, I think is important. And for Mark Cuban to take that away, take away the conversation, take away the dialogue that's been happening around it when players decide to act the way they do and take the position they do, and for fans as well, I don't think that's fair. And I respect and I honor the flag and what the national anthem stands for, the good and the bad.
Right.
We are not who we are without those two things, the good and the bad.
Yep.
So that's my position on it. I was disappointed. I'm glad the NBA is bringing it back, but I completely respect Mark Cuban's position right now, which is, and he quote, I hope people that feel as passionately about the anthem not playing will share that same passion for listening to people that don't feel like the flag or the anthem represents them. And that is a dialogue worth having. Taking away the anthem altogether, though, in my opinion, is not.
I don't ever hear the national anthem until I go to a game.
Yep.
I could probably go 2-3 years. I don't go to many games. I can go 2-3 years and not hear it, period. I mean, even if I watch a football game on TV, I'm not watching the national anthem on TV. That I don't feel some type of way when I hear it. I actually get humbled, and I am appreciative when I do hear it. It's just the respect and that you give to what the song represents. You take your hat off, you put it on your chest, you put your hand on your chest. I don't know. It's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to have. When I first heard that Mark Cuban did that, my initial response was, why would he do that? That was the stupidest.
Felt random.
Extremely random. But then, of course, you get some context. He hadn't been playing it from the beginning, and we're just now hearing about it. And then I can't help but to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And at some points, my devil's advocate approach trumps what I initially go with. And my devil's advocate approach is, it's his team. He could do however way he wants to. Most of his players are European. They don't really feel the same way about the national anthem. But then there was an argument that came to mind that he gets hundreds of thousands of viewers every week. And I hate when people say, I do this, I do that. I get all these people watching, but I'm not a role model. And you are a role model, whether you choose to be or not. And I feel like if you're having that many people watching you, first you got to be careful on a stance like that you take.
You have responsibility.
You have responsibility.
You have a standard.
That is. And I know there's been a lot of hostility towards the national anthem with the kneeling and the laying down and the hands up and the hands down and the whatever it may be. But I still think it should be played no matter what, because you have to pay your respects. There has to be something that reminds you why you're here in the first place. And although, as being a Black American, this wasn't the freedom that I wish I had. There are some things that I deal with, but I am grateful for the freedom that I do have, and I hope it becomes better than it is right now. And the national anthem is a time where we're all doing the same thing.
We're all American.
We're all American.
And we're all at a sporting event.
Taking the hat off, putting our hand on our chest, doing the same thing, paying tribute to the people before us that gave us, to put us in the place that we are right now. That put us in the place, whether it be the people that fought on the front lines in the army, or Martin Luther King, or Malcolm X, the people that got us to where we are right now, we're paying homage to.
Because they're a part of the country.
They're part of the story. They're a part of the story.
I always tell people, I think I gave you this analogy earlier. I am damn proud to be an American. Again, I lived in China, full transparency. I've lived in what we consider a third world country. I've lived in what we consider a communist dictatorship. I've seen the faces of people longing for a better life. Immigrants that are fighting to come here, legally and illegally, because they want what we have. And I feel like oftentimes we forget. But that's not to say that we don't have parts of our past that aren't ugly.
Right.
And we need to own that. What that looks like is a very hotly debated topic.
Right.
But when it comes to the national anthem, I watch the Olympics because a lot of people argue, oh, well, other countries don't play their national anthem before every sport. We're not every other country.
Right.
We are the greatest country in the world. We provide freedom for the entire world that wants it. We are the defender of freedom. We are on a different pedestal, so we do a lot of things differently.
Right.
The national anthem started being played in sports back in World War I in the late 1910s. It's been a part of his history. It's been a part of sports. Sports go way beyond what happens on the field or on the court or on the ice. I look back to the Boston bombing, the Boston Marathon. Yeah. I look back to 9/11. I get chills to this day thinking about Bostonians at the hockey games, Bostonians at Fenway, the Yankee fans in New York singing as loud as possible at the top of their lungs the national anthem after these attacks.
Right.
And then George Bush walking out and throwing the strike. Sports heals. And I think we can't let that go. Mark Cuban comparing a sporting event to your everyday job just doesn't register with me. It's different.
You ain't got 100,000 people watching.
You don't have 100,000 people watching. I'm not being paid millions. They're not 100,000 people gathered to watch. And we can't lose that in America. We can break down the bad parts and we can break down our country, say we can be better. But I think the best analogy is you can be proud of your kids and they can make a bad decision, and you can also at the same time that you're proud of them, be disappointed in them.
Right.
You can be proud of your country and stand or sit or protest or be joyous or heal through the national anthem and still be disappointed in parts of it.
Right.
The national anthem, if you don't know, is a poem. It's not even a song.
Right.
We turned it into a song. It's 4 parts. The first part is what we sing. The other 3 parts are ugly at times. There is slavery built into it. We're not proud of it. We ignore it. We don't sing it. I understand the debate about whether we have a different national anthem. I think America the Beautiful could be a great national anthem. It's
Jay-Z
strong.
to write on it.
It's still strong. They play it at baseball games. But I still think we need something in that moment as Americans, to me, now more than ever.
And take politics aside, it should remind you of just the people that lost their lives for whether it be corrupt or not. And I'm your run-of-the-mill conspiratist. But whether it be corrupt or not, for the American cause.
Yep.
Whether it be for World War I, World War II.
The people that died weren't corrupt. People that went over there, they were serving their country, whether they were there for the right reason or not.
Fallen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, even people that have fallen here.
Yeah.
Back to the civil rights movement. You're paying your respects to the people that have fallen for the American cause to get to where we are right now, and he should not take that
And maybe
away.
I'm wrong, but every national anthem I can think of usually happens after they take a minute to recognize a service member. Like every sporting event I've been to in the last 20 years, especially since 9/11, they bring out somebody from one of the armed forces and they showcase them on the Jumbotron, and it's a chance for them to be appreciated singularly
for what they did.
Yep.
And
then they play the national anthem.
Right. And I don't know the exact year, but in football, they didn't actually even televise the national anthem until then, so they could help show more respect for the service members.
And there's an argument that the armed forces paid marketing dollars to have it televised.
And whether they did or didn't, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. Whether they did or didn't, who cares? People who use that argument aren't seeing the bigger picture, and they're also trying to lead you down a certain path that I don't think is conducive to solving or talking about the problem that we're all, immersed in right now. Or what's the word I'm looking for? Submerged in.
Sometimes drowning in.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like for the better part of a year, we've all been drowning in this. And even longer than that, the whole Kaepernick thing, it's just been the most despicable overall conversation as a whole.
Yeah, it's ugly.
You can't...
Nobody listens to each other.
You can't start the conversation and end it civilly, I feel. I mean,
At least not on social media.
Yeah, I mean, but that's where we're all going. I mean, that's what we're all tuned into. We all see it. There's been times where I've had to just get off. Don't
detach.
Don't start typing, because there are just too many ways to go about it. And in our group thread that we have with a bunch of friends, we were talking about this before tonight. There have been times where I have played devil's advocate only because I'm the only person who will take the time to say something from the other side.
And you need that.
And it has to be done. And Josh brought up a good point. He said, sometimes I feel like you do that just to take a jab. Maybe there is a time I do that just to take a jab, but then at the same time, there are 12, 15 people in that thread, and they're all saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And it just steamrolls, right? It's like, okay, now it's a mob mentality in a text thread.
You got to be
so I just got to
a
be
bachelor party text thread, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a despicable thread nobody should ever be a part of. But hey, everybody has them.
So I just try to, and I appreciate everybody's point of view on it. I try to think along the sides of just anybody else. How could anybody else think? I don't think deeply on this stuff. I don't dive into the dumpster of all of the facts and all of the different angles you can go on it. I just try to pick one and stick with it for a little bit, right? And just try to make an argument why somebody would think this way or why somebody would act that way. And I mean, a lot of the times I'm like, holy shit, if I ever did that, I'd lock me up, get me out of here. Right. There's no way I would ever want to willingly present myself or my topic or my thoughts and opinions that way. But I do it because it's good to inject that into a group of guys who all think the same. And we all think the same on most things, right? And it's just, I feel it's healthy to have a little bit of back and forth dialogue rather than just one-sided, everybody throwing the same shit at the same wall.
Yeah. Confrontation is never bad.
No.
Dialogue is never bad.
Violent confrontation
is
different. And that's what we keep running into, though. It's
using hate-filled words is not constructive.
When you're debating the argument, not the arguer.
Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like social media is a cesspool. If you don't know, this is not a made-up stat. Most stats are made up. People
I make them up all the time.
Skew them to where they want to go.
Absolutely.
80%. I want you to think about this. 80% of the content on social media, and I think specifically it referenced Twitter, is created by 10% of the users. Okay.
Something like that.
What that means is what you're necessarily seeing on social media is not reflective of the country as a whole. The media loves divisiveness. They love the us versus them, the divide. And we need to unify and agree, acknowledge, and accept that you can be completely patriotic and love your country and also realize that there's fucked up parts of our history. And it's not just us. It's every country in the world. There's fucked up shit that happens in this country today. The fact that there's homeless people on the streets is fucked up. We've got the money. They're talking about a $1.9 trillion package for COVID, and I think a fifth of it is going to go to the American people. There's plenty of money out there to help people. It's fucked up that we have to have this conversation because that means there's still issues going on that embody racism, that embody prejudice.
Well, and what does this take our focus away from? Like literally anything else, right? True. We take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back,
Yeah.
right? And
That's true.
What, as a whole, where are we going? You know, do we want to just bring it back to 1960s with a Facebook and Twitter account?
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell?
That's the issue. What's the end? Like, all right.
Yeah, what is the end?
And I think if my biggest issue with Black Lives Matter has been what is the solution or end game? Because I don't feel like I've seen a lot of buildup and a lot of great cause behind it. Hell, I think they've raised over $1 billion.
Where's that money at? I don't know.
Where's that money at?
I don't know.
Or what is the solution? What is the legislation?
Right.
Like, that's what we need now.
Right.
There's been plenty of focus from both sides on what we think is right or wrong. Now we have to fucking come together and make solutions. I don't know what the solutions are. Haven't really heard a lot thrown out there. I think it can start in our communities. You and I grew up in a minority-driven community.
True.
We grew up in a poverty-driven community. Yep. We went to Title I high schools, which means more than 60% of the kids in the school are on a reduced lunch program. That's where it starts. How do you make those schools, those communities stronger? How do you drive opportunities? If we really want to change America, we need to drive opportunities where there haven't been.
And that's where I'm saying some of the focus gets deflected with all this crap.
That's it, absolutely.
Our conversation is talking about an anthem. It should be talking about the anthem in schools and what these schools are doing to help out these kids who are coming from families and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. See what I'm saying? There are so many different layers to it. And we're stuck back on an anthem.
Yeah. That's what kind of offended me, if that's the right word, that out of nowhere this happened. And I know Cuban's going to argue. Well, that's Cuban's argument, but it really is.
It ripped
He knew nobody fucking was going to talk about it because there was no fans. But the minute there's fans is really when it starts.
Bro, I could have gone in there and the people in the locker room would have been like, yo, do we have to do that? I mean, people are
so
in the camera.
I want to go back to...
we'll just cut it off, man.
I don't want to take too much more time on this right now. I think we need to have a platform for this conversation. But Tristan brought up a great point. It was like 2004, 2005. They started doing the flyovers, started televising the national anthem. And if you don't know, the biggest thing is the NFL started trotting their players out onto the field for the national anthem. Before that, the players stayed in the locker room. It wasn't a thing about respect or disrespect.
Movies being played, movies I've seen with the national anthem being played out in the field, and they are still in the locker room.
They're still in the locker room.
Yeah.
I've actually got photos from a Seahawk game I went to in 2004. The flag covers the whole field.
No players.
Nobody on the side. Well, no players on the sidelines.
So I think that would be my challenge to Cuban. I think a really happy compliment right now is to let the players either stay in the locker room, or if a player, let's say a player's brother served, or let's say the player themselves served, or let's just say they love their country, or let's just say they want to fucking be out there for the national anthem. That's their choice.
Right.
They want to stay in the locker room. Overall, that's what they're going to do. That is their initiative moving forward. If people, again, in the stands want to go to the concession stand, go to the bathroom, they want to eat, they want to talk, whatever.
Right.
They have the ability and it's their individual right to do that. But still play the national anthem because I do, my heart, believe the majority of people find unity in that. And we can have a dialogue about the actual anthem, about the other verses, about what that song means to some people.
Right.
And maybe what could take place of it. It wasn't always our national anthem. We've had 5 national anthems as a country in 260 whatever years it's been. America the Beautiful was one. The all hail the Queen narrative that we changed, and I think it's now the presidential walkout song. That was a national. There's other things we could use. I personally don't really care. Well, I want something that we can sing, and I want something we can be proud of.
Well, you said it clear. The national anthem is not for the players.
No.
It's for the people that go to see the games.
It's for the country.
It's for the country, yes. But it's
because we don't play it at work. We don't play it at school. We don't play it at the park.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I meant to ask that. Why do you think we don't do the Pledge of Allegiance at 9 a.m. every day at work?
They should put it in intercoms on the streets.
See, a lot of people think that it's kind of that communist feeling of I pledge allegiance, and it's repetitive, it's robotic, and it's that you're just conforming, and it's forced. And I get that when you have 6-year-olds reciting it, they don't know why they're reciting it. I think there's an aspect of you're a nationalist, right? Or maybe that's not the right word. You're an American. Our allegiance is to our country. Your allegiance isn't to fucking Russia or China. If it is, you're considered a traitor, right? So there is an aspect of being an American that you need to pledge your allegiance to your country. It is weird that after high school, your allegiance stops as far as saying it.
Right.
I lived in China. Most of the companies have the anthem or a pledge recited. They actually usually work out before work in like a courtyard, right? All the employees come down, they lead an exercise, a yoga, a 15, 20-minute exercise, and they all go to work. But most times over the speakers, you'll hear an anthem played or an allegiance is spoken, because in most countries, they don't have the right to not want to conform, to not want to serve. South Korea, you have to serve in the military.
Israel too.
No matter who you are.
Yep.
Israel, you have to serve. You don't have that in America. And I guess it goes back to...
Can you imagine?
Having to serve? It's not for everybody. I didn't. My whole family pretty much did. I didn't.
No, I'm just saying that it was required that people... I mean,
it's like a draft.
Yeah. I've heard lots of good dialogue on that. I mean... What do you think about not necessarily military, but serving some sort of term to your country, whether that be
public service,
learning the ins and outs of like a government office, a public
teaching.
Service of some teaching. Not saying you need to be out there solving crimes, but some sort of gumshoe police work. Yeah, firefighting.
What about my Facebook? Will Facebook be over here? If that
Sorry, you cannot.
What about my
You cannot run
Instagram?
your Facebook HOA page and think that you're doing your country good.
Israel's not putting out Facebook, okay? It's America.
Well, right? I want all of our listeners to know the world events aren't lost on us. When we don't touch on them, typically we don't touch on them because we don't want to commingle a lot of politics with our sports. We know a lot of you that listen to detach from what's going on in the world because it is fucked up at times.
It is.
And just want to go to sports, which is part of the reason maybe some people don't like the anthem in sports because it's just a divisive thing right now. We hear you. We respect you. No matter
and we don't care.
Where you're at. We do care. But at some point, we can't ignore what is being talked about, especially when it's 5 miles down the road from us.
If it's Dallas, you got to.
Yeah, it's relevant. Cuban tends to be at the forefront. There's a lot that argue that he doesn't have his home in good order. When I say home, I mean the Mavericks. Their organization's been under fire for many years now because of their own internal issues. So
because they're not bringing in stars.
No, I'm talking sexual misconduct and leadership issues.
Oh, those are stars.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not going to ignore that they're not perfect.
They're not.
Nobody is perfect, and we need to maybe own that in this country above everything else. If we all had a camera on us 24/7,
scary.
We'd be ashamed.
That's Black Mirror shit.
We would be ashamed. We don't need that, but I say that because ownership is what I think is ultimately going to help progress the conversation. Admitting where we have fucked up, admitting where we have learned, where we could do things better, and then having a constructive conversation, a healthy dialogue around these things. Because we're not in a good place as a country, but we're still at a far better place than we were 10 years ago.
True.
40 years ago.
Yep.
And extremely better than we were beyond that.
we're also at a far better place than a lot of countries currently stand.
Yeah.
True.
So that is, I think, the crux of this whole thing. We get to watch a sporting event, and if standing up and respecting an anthem is the worst part of your day at that point in time, then you are absolutely need to be thankful
And
for
again,
where you are.
you don't have to stand up.
Well, according to Will Ferrell, I think Switzerland is ahead of us?
Sweden.
No. It's Norway.
Norway.
Norway. That's right.
Yeah.
They're a little bit ahead of us. Okay.
Yeah. We appreciate you listening. I don't think we need to go on to another sports topic. This is important.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we give you guys the space to give your opinions, write us in, tell us you hate us because we talked about politics, tell us you love us because we talked about politics.
Don't write us in, please. Just leave a comment.
Yeah, leave a
I'm
comment.
not checking
We
them out.
appreciate the criticism. We appreciate your input. I
Yeah.
think that's what's going to help us grow this podcast. But I think moving forward, we're not going to completely just not talk about some of the things that are happening, because when it is mixed with sports,
You gotta talk
it's
about
relevant.
it. Sometimes you gotta talk about it.
If Biden stumbles over his words or Trump tweets something stupid, it doesn't have anything to do with sports. We don't give a shit.
I laugh.
If an owner of a sports team in Dallas or anywhere in the country does something like this, we're going to start talking about it.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you listening. We've really enjoyed the ride. Football is over for the time being. We've got the draft to look forward to here in a couple months. We've got free agency starting. Trades are being whirled around. I'm excited to see what the NFL looks like in August, because I don't think it's going to be
next week.
anything like what we're seeing right now. But I'm really excited too. We're going to start talking about basketball. We're going to talk about college sports. We're going to talk about hockey, baseball. So golf. We're actually going to talk about Waste Management Open, and we're going to recap the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am next week. So please listen in. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so. Follow our Instagram account. I'm Josh.
I'm Tristan.
I'm Elton.
Have a good night.
Adios.